Hey, it's Tuesday with Terri, and today is something that everybody really, really wants to know about, and that is about communication. And so when we ask people, may I have your attention, please? The answer is no. You are unable to give your full attention. As a matter of fact, there's studies out that show adults are only 8.5 seconds of real direct attention. Well, what does that mean? That means that our conversations are fractured. Well, I had the privilege of interviewing Eric Oliver. He's a trial consultant and an expert on all things communication, neurolinguistics, nonverbal, the whole gamut. And what was interesting about what came out of his book, More is Less, is the whole impaired attention issue. And so it got me to wanting to do some more research. And I researched a book called We Need to Talk by Celeste Headley. And now, quite frankly, we all think we communicate, but we have become so fractured and fragmented and fleeting in our ability to communicate that it's really impacting relationships. So whether you're a speaker, a trainer, a teacher, a mom, or just somebody in a conversation, you might want to know what those 10 tips are, because we can't pay attention. We are trained not to, and it's getting worse and worse. So what I wanted to do is tell you about his podcast. It's Meta Systems, one word, META Systems Consulting podcast, and it's on all of the channels. But as a master coach, I want to be able to communicate even better than I've been doing. And so the one thing we've got to do is communicate. So in her book, We Need to Talk, she shares that a good conversation has to be a mutual exchange of ideas and thoughts. Well, I know as somebody who's been fascinated with communication that sometimes while people are talking to us, we leave. It could be a word, an acronym. It could be a distraction on your phone or your iPad or whatever, and they don't hear you. So think about being in a room where you're looking at a play and the actors are up there and they're speaking and we're listening, and all of a sudden this huge siren starts and it's blaring, so we can't hear them, but they keep talking and we can't hear them. And that's so often what happens in our conversation. So we have to give attention to that. And here's the problem. We can't even give straight attention, because if they say a word or a thought, it triggers another thought. And every time we get an interruption, it's 24 minutes and 17 seconds till we go back. So what can we do? Honestly, empathy is a big deal. If someone is trying to connect with you, the more intentional you can be about hoping you can focus on it is at least a good first step. And she talks about empathy being a critical component. She says it entails putting oneself in another person's shoes and genuinely trying to comprehend their feelings and perspective. Now, I got certified in emotional intelligence because I wanted a little bit more. But for the sake of this program, besides listening to Eric's podcast and eventually getting his book, by the way, it's going to be about 800 pages, Celeste talks about 10 ways to have a better conversation in her book. Don't multitask. When you multitask, and we're all prone to do it, we put on our phone and we think, oh, well, I can just do this. You fracture the communication. Don't pontificate. We can go on, but when we hear someone else's perspective, actually hear it and consider it and let it set, then we get a perspective that we just can't. Use open-ended questions. Yeses and nos don't give you the full spectrum of it. If you don't really know, be authentic and say, you know what, I don't know. I don't. You don't have to know everything. The internet has taught us that. Don't equate your experience with theirs. This is especially, I'll say, critical when there's people who are sitting in a situation where someone has died or their dog has died or something has happened. You can't really say, well, when that happened to me, I did this. Just be with it, and just let them know you're there, because you can't know what they feel because you're not them. Try not to repeat yourself. As you get a little bit older, sometimes you do that. Sometimes if you don't get a reaction, you'll say it for emphasis. Try not to repeat yourself, and then stay out of the weeds. Don't go on and on and on and on and on. People want to be seen, valued, and heard, and to be a really good communicator, whether it's with your kids or your partners or in your business. People want to be seen, valued, and heard. And one of the most powerful things you could do is to hope that you can break through the impaired and fragmented and fleeting attention and make that connection. because as humans, that's all we've got. I'm Terri Murphy for Tuesdays with Terri. I'm going to be putting together a blog post on this, but in the meantime, go and check out Eric's channel. It's Meta Systems Consulting Podcast, and I'll see you next Tuesday.